Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Wolfpacker Show. My name's Ethan McDowell. I am here with Noah Fleischman. We're here for another game recap episode. We're here to talk all about Syracuse's 24-17 victory over NC State. It is the Wolfpack's second consecutive defeat, second straight loss at home as well. First time that has happened since 2019. The Pack is 0-3 in ACC play, 3-4 overall. And this season, Noah, looks a whole lot different than we expected it to going into next week's matchup against Cal, a game that we thought was going to be a trap game for a team that was steamrolling towards potential ACC contention. And now those goals, those dreams could not be further from reality. NC State is now sits solidly as one of the bottom teams in the conference coming out of week 7. We're going to talk all about this loss, the weirdly positive sides of this game, where the Pack did show promise at points, but it was a game where critical mistakes at critical moments really hurt this program. We're going to talk all about it, but real quick, I want to mention that we're both writers for the Wolfpacker.com. That's NC State's site on the On3 network, the fastest growing college football, recruiting, basketball, sports network out there. I encourage you all to go check it out. Again, that is the wolfpacker.com. We already have multiple stories reacting to last night's loss up on the site. And if you want just some more context into what went wrong for the Wolfpack, go check out the wolfpacker.com. And for about the next half hour, we're going to talk about what went wrong right here, Noah. Weird game for NC State, a game where I think it went about how we expected in terms of Syracuse airing the ball out, trying to dominate time of possession. And then NC State kind of answered with a pretty valiant offensive effort, but things fell apart with turnovers. NC State starts the game with a long drive that ends in a missed field goal. Okay, that's, nothing disastrous. But then it starts a trend where they proceed to have 3 more drives that end in Syracuse territory, but end in 0 points. The Pack lost the turnover battle 3-0. They fumbled twice and threw a costly interception. Noah, turnovers are the story of this game, but overall, just want to get your thoughts on the Pack's loss to the Qs.
Yeah, it was a game they should have won. I mean, when you look back at it, they played really well on offense, and we're going to talk about it. But the offense looked probably its best it has all season. I think,
agree.
especially with CJ Bailey playing his best game with 329 passing yards on an efficient 71% completion rate, his highest of his NC State career. But overall, NC State, as you talk about, turnovers were the difference. They fumbled twice, threw a pick once, all coming inside the Syracuse 30-yard line, all coming on drives that NC State was moving the ball. We talked about this last week, where they struggled to move the ball. That's been a theme. They can't move the ball. It's just stuck in mud. They were moving the ball really, really well. People want to discredit. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can look at, but they moved the ball well. They only had 1 3 and out, which was their second drive of the game for -2 yards, ending in a punt. Other than that, the rest of the way, they had run at least 4 plays other than the 2-play touchdown drive. Every drive went for at least 40 yards, moving the ball downfield really, really well.
Yep.
NC State just, fumbles hurt it. Kendrick Raphael tried to kind of just keep going on a 15-yard run. Ball got punched out, lost it. Unfortunate happened. CJ Bailey went to pass, was hit, fumbled the ball, coughed it up, and then threw a pick, which he owned the pick, just high throw to Kendrick Raphael right up the middle. And Syracuse was able to make the play. Comes down to execution. NC State executed well for the most part, just except when it mattered. And I think that's kind of the most important part of this game. The Wolfpack fall to 0-7 against the spread this season and just lose their second straight game at home. First time since 2014 that I believe that has happened. First time since 2014 they're 0-3 in the league. But yes, 0-3 in the league. Have lost the last 2 home games. Usually Carter Finley Stadium is a place that NC State thrives. Crowd showed up, Ethan. Blackout. It was loud. They were into it. Probably the best showing for a team that is winless in conference, probably in the country, based on who was in the crowd. But it worked out. Just fell short, even though they did, put up a fight at the end of the game by scoring, 10 points in the fourth quarter. But obviously it wasn't enough, and they've got a long road to go, Ethan. Long road to go, going to Cal next week, both figuratively and literally going across the country, where there'll be 8.5-point underdogs.
Yeah, I mean, now you're sitting and looking at a team that is having to rely on its freshman quarterback. And that's something we've talked a lot about, where I continue to believe that CJ is going to be a really, really good college quarterback. And I thought he continued to show consistent improvement in this game, making some nice reads, delivering some just straight up beautiful footballs, including, like one early that should have been caught down the sideline. And then, a nice ball to KC, a great ball to Hollywood late in the game where he drew the defender off of Hollywood with a scramble. I tweeted it out during the game, but CJ is better at like improvising and extending plays than any freshman quarterback should be. Like he is really, really good at that. And NC State's asking him to do a lot of that right now. And he's up to the challenge like 90% of the time. And that is a higher rate than most freshman quarterbacks. But it's just this offense is going to have a ceiling if you're still going to have to rely so much on just your freshman quarterback making plays. Again, CJ, really good player, but it's hard to win many football games when you can't support him with a rushing attack, Noah. They ran the ball 21 times, picked up 82 yards, it's 3.9 yards per rush. That's not a horrific average, but CJ was the leading rusher, right? Like most of those plays were off of CJ scrambles. His longest rush of the day was a 28-yard run where he took off. But I mean, outside of a couple long runs by Hollywood and Kendrick, and by long runs, I mean 10, 15 yards. It wasn't anything super explosive out of the running back room last night. And if you're not providing CJ with more support, it's just going to be difficult for NC State to win games. And that's something we've talked about all fall, man. Like that, it's continuing to be an issue. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. And I think it's going to continue to limit this offense and what it can achieve.
I will say, yeah, they ran the ball 21 times, but they first of all couldn't really run the ball. One, it's not working, but two, they were down for most of the game. They have to throw the ball, and obviously Syracuse was able to run the time of possession, having the ball for 13 more minutes than the NC State. So yeah, the run attack needs work. We've kind of harped on that for the past 7 games, but at the same time, this NC State is willingly throwing the ball to CJ, one, because it works, but two, they were down. They had to make plays. He showed up to the occasion. You're talking about a true freshman. I don't call him a true freshman anymore. I don't think he is. 3 starts into his career, he's looking like a guy who's played college football before. And I think that's a good thing. Obviously, there's things he needs to clean up. Turnovers are an issue. Making some reads are a problem. But he's seeing things. The game is starting to slow down for him, and I think we've seen improvement week to week, which with a true freshman quarterback getting thrown into a situation where he thought he was going to sit the whole year, he's performing really, really well. So I think that this is a lot to work with for NC State's passing attack. Yes, the rushing attack has a lot of work to do, but I really don't know if there's a way to change it. Because 7 games in, it's a trend at this point. I don't think there's a way you can take a magic pill after the Cal game next week when they go into their bye and obviously come back out with something that works. Because I don't think it is. I think they're going to have to lean on number 16 in his arm.
I mean, yeah, I completely agree. And that's going to yield positive results at points. But I get your point, but he is a freshman. And with that is going to come freshman mistakes. Like that interception is a freshman mistake. And when you in games like this one, a freshman mistake can be a back-breaking one. And that's no fault of CJ's own. Again, I think you cannot say enough good things about how he is playing right now. And I think he is the quarterback of the future for this program, and he is going to be a star. But my point in general is just he shouldn't be asked to do as much as he is right now. That's not how this team should be operating. But that's the reality right now, and that's going to be how it is for the rest of the year. I totally agree. So it is what it is offensively. I mean, like you said, they extended drives really well. I thought they did a good job, like just keeping the defense off the field as much as it could. Like it could have snowballed, right? On these long drives where Syracuse was possessing the ball for, an average of 4 minutes of game clock per possession and put together 4 drives that took off more than 5 minutes. Like those are drives that if the Pack responded with like a 3 and out, dude, like that's when it gets ugly. That's when the defense gets worn down and the defense and things fall apart. Offense did a good job not letting that happen, right? Like you said, only 1 punt in this game. But man, if they just score on one of those turnover drives, it's a completely different game, because not only did you turn the ball over, you don't get points for yourself. All three of Syracuse's touchdown drives were direct results of those three turnovers, right? So it's just one of those drives ends differently. I think it's a completely different ball game.
Yeah, I think so. I do think the only caveat is that, yes, they turned the ball over. Yes, Syracuse scored 21 points off turnovers. But part of it falls on the defense, because it wasn't like Syracuse was taking over in short fields. They were inside their own 30 every single time,
It's true.
for the most part. So I think that, yes, they used the momentum from the quick change to go. But at the same time, it wasn't like we've seen in the past. NC State gives the ball up at its own 20, and the team only has to go 20 yards to score. Defense needs to make plays. And I think we'll talk about that coming up. But obviously missing a key player on defense in Caden Fordham and a key player on the outside in Brandon Cisse. Both of those absences showed up against Syracuse.
Yeah, let's talk about the defense. Syracuse ended the game with 424 total yards. 346 of that were through the air. Only 78 rushing yards for the Orange. It felt like during the game they were actually running the ball more effectively than the final stats showed, but no, they didn't. They averaged 2.4 yards per rush. They hurt the Pack almost exclusively through the air. Kyle McCord, the Ohio State transfer, was surgical in this game, 31 for 42, 346 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 picks. The story of this game was, NC State turned the ball over 3 times, and Syracuse did not give the ball away. Not only, it wasn't like against Western Carolina when there was opportunities for turnovers, or even against Wake Forest last week when the ball hit the turf on that last drive and they couldn't recover it. There just weren't opportunities for turnovers. Syracuse took care of the ball really, really well. And this NC State defense is opportunistic, but just didn't have those opportunities against the Orange. And, they took care of the ball and just kind of picked the Pack apart. NC State got Syracuse into third downs, but the Orange converted 6 of 10 third down opportunities in the first half, 8 of 15 for the game. And 1 of 3 on fourth down as well. Like NC State couldn't get off the field. So I totally agree. The defense is not absolved here, but I also think it did enough to win the game. I think it was especially missing Caden Fordham, missing Brandon Cisse. I don't think you can ask the defense to do much more than hold Syracuse to 24 points and adopt this like bend don't break mentality that they really showed for most of the game. But I mean, yeah, I just think I have a hard time pinning this loss on the defense, Noah.
Yeah, I think the only thing is you want to see more out of the pass defense, which didn't show up really for the most part.
Yeah.
Devon Marshall was the only corner that gave up less than 75% on more than 2 targets. He gave up 4 catches on 8 targets. Aiden White, they're all do it all corner, gave up 7 catches on 7 targets. That resulted in 47 yards. You look at, Devon Betty gave up 8 catches on 8 targets, 88 yards. Those are things that you want to see cleaned up. I think that, you're playing a team you know is going to throw the ball, and pass defense is going to be really, really important. And NC State couldn't. Its pass rush worked. Yeah. They got into the backfield. They hurried McCord a lot. But I think it just comes down to making plays in one-on-one situations on the outside, and NC State couldn't do it. So I think this wasn't – you can't say it's an offensive problem. You can't say it's a defense problem. I think it's both units played well enough to win, but they also didn't execute to win, if that makes sense. They didn't do enough to win, but they did – if you look at the body of work here, you held Syracuse to 24 points. You go, okay, you should be able to win the game. Defense drives the ball at will for most of the game. They should win the game, but neither side pulled through enough to beat a quality Syracuse team with Kyle McCord at quarterback, who a year ago was playing in one of the best conferences in the country, in the Big Ten, and playing for one of the best teams in the country. So it is what it is, but I definitely think it's in pass defense was where this game, went wrong defensively.
Yeah, and we knew that Syracuse was going to have success through the air. Like they finished below their season average, which is pretty wild to say when you say they threw for 346 yards, but that was below what they've been averaging this season. They're the second best passing offense in the ACC, one of the best in the country. Of course, they were going to have success in that area. And I don't think you can get particularly bent out of shape of the fact of them putting up numbers in the passing game. But I totally agree that it was a lack of execution, and it was a lack of execution on potential drive ending plays on both sides of the ball, right? Like NC State, when they got into the red zone and had an opportunity to finish drives with points, could not do it. When Syracuse was facing a third down, a third and medium, it seemed like it was always a third and medium, man. It was always like a 3rd and 5, a 3rd and 6, and they would just complete a pass right to the chains every single time. Syracuse finished the game with I believe it was, let me pull it up here, 8 passing plays of 15 yards or more. None of those traveled more than 30 yards. They weren't giving up these huge, explosive, back-breaking, huge plays, but it was just, 18 yards here, 16 yards here, 20 yards here. And I thought it was a good game plan by Syracuse. They, funneled the ball to their playmakers, and it worked. And they took advantage of injuries to the Pack secondary. You're missing Brandon Cisse, who probably been your best cover corner so far this season. And, they took advantage, and they threw at Aiden White a lot and had a lot of success. NC State was playing a lot of, like soft coverage at points where the Syracuse receivers just had a lot of time and space to operate. And, the Orange took advantage of that. So hats off to them. They came in with a good game plan, and they executed. They put Devon Betty in coverage situations, and they executed in those situations. I thought this was a great coaching job by Syracuse, and they're 5-1, and they look like a 5-1 football team. I thought Syracuse looked really good in this game, and I thought this was like, I don't know, like the C plus, the B minus game from NC State's defense. It wasn't great, it wasn't terrible, and they're just not good enough right now to beat a team like Syracuse, which is not something we thought we'd be saying at this point of the year.
Yeah, definitely not. We thought this was a game that NC State coming into the year should be able to win at home with the first-year coach, first-year quarterback in the system, but it didn't work that way. And NC State sits at 0-3 in the ACC, bottom of the pack, sitting right next to Carolina. So see what happens in that last game of the year, but it might be who doesn't finish last place in the league. We don't know. Plenty of games left, 5 games left. But, yeah, it was not a pretty game, not a pretty showing for the Wolfpack, who ran 45 offensive plays in the game. Syracuse ran 76 as they dominated that possession. That really helped them keep NC State's offense off the field, even though NC State's offense had success moving the ball. One way to beat them, don't let them have the ball, Ethan.
Yeah, keep them off the field. That'll work. I mean, yeah, almost 14 minutes difference in time of possession. Shoot, that's almost a quarter of football. Like that is a significant advantage for Syracuse, and you felt it in the stadium. The tempo and momentum of this game was so strange. Because the Pack would get the ball, they'd move it downfield pretty quickly. Again, this was the most explosive they averaged 19.4 yards per completion. Like the passing offense was working, but like you said, they just managed to keep the ball out of NC State's hands for a significant portion of the game. And I mean, do we want to talk about penalties at all? Because that was also a storyline in this game. The Pack committed 6 penalties for 42 yards, and there were a couple in there that were really the result of the Pack trying to do things right. Like, and I'm talking about the 2 defensive personal foul penalties, right? So Tamarcus Cooley is ejected for targeting in the 4th quarter. One of those really tough plays where, the receiver goes down and Tamarcus is already going in to make the tackle. His helmet hits the receiver's helmet. One of those where, yes, it is targeting, but also, tough to avoid that if you're Tamarcus. He was trying to break up that pass. I thought they did a good job, breaking up that pass. It just, targeting did indeed happen. And then just a few minutes before that, Davin Van loses his helmet. No flag when the helmet somehow popped off. I don't know about but usually the helmets don't just come off in the course of the game. But and then he keeps playing. He keeps straining. He tries to make a tackle on the play, and of course you can't do that. And that was a personal foul too. That was another example of just the Pack continuing to fall on its face and hurt itself in these games. So the easiest way for the Pack to move forward and I think win a couple of these games, like win games against a team like Syracuse, a team like Wake Forest, which should be very winnable games for NC State, is they just need to stop hurting themselves.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Davin Van knows better to not put his helmet on. After this was a conversation, when Grayson McCall lost his helmet mid-play, should the play have been called dead or not? It wasn't because he lost the ball and he wasn't continuing to play. But it's to protect the player. Should it be a 15-yard penalty? I don't think so. That's its own conversation for another day. But NC State's biggest problem, Ethan, another thing they had penalty-wise was they only had one holding penalty. It was an offset with a roughing the passer, which was a good improvement in the offensive line play. Yeah. Decent game when it comes to playing clean. But illegal formations and illegal shifts.
Really
they had 2 illegal shifts on the same drive. And also an illegal formation. Yeah. And it was just people not getting set. Yes, I think it is a problem. Byproduct of having a freshman quarterback, maybe not checking to make sure everybody is set. I think that will be something we see cleaned up.
Post game, yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll see it get cleaned up. I think that CJ Bailey, he's trying to go faster down, trying to win the game. But I think we'll see that one get fixed. That's an easy one to correct for a freshman quarterback. It's like, hey, take a second, pause. You've got time. Make sure everyone's good to go, and then go. Then they had a legal formation as well in a run with too many men in the backfield, which we didn't really see. I guess Anthony Belton was slightly off the line that the referees didn't like. But
yeah, I think so.
It is what it is. And then an illegal man downfield. So all things that are correctable. I think the illegal man downfield, it came on against Dante Daniels. He was covered up on the play. It was kind of maybe one of those things like you think you're not covered up so you can go downfield. And
that was a weird call. Yeah, that was a confusing one.
I think most of these penalties NC State had are correctable. And that's a good
I totally agree.
These aren't false starts. They're not delay of games. They're not things that coaches drive themselves crazy over. These are things that they can fix rather easily, and I think that that's a good thing to see. Obviously, NC State could have really finished this game with 2 or 3 penalties. Half the penalties could have finished a lot better, but they didn't. And that penalty that Davin Van took was costly. Syracuse scored a touchdown on that drive. Basically, it's the difference in the game when you really look at the fourth quarter and that. But Syracuse was driving anyway. They probably would have scored no matter what happened. But they gave him first down from the 14 instead of from the 29. So,
yeah, and then the targeting penalty was on 3rd and 9, right? You hold them to a field goal there or a 4th down attempt because they weren't really kicking field goals in that game. But yeah, it was super costly. Both of them were.
For sure, especially in a game where, yes, Syracuse not kicking field goals. And 2, if you hold them to 4th down, you could not have to kick a field goal on your last drive and go for a touchdown because they settled for 3 because you knew they needed 2 possessions to score to win the game, to tie the game at least. So, oh well. The outside kick, I will say, Canova Van Set did do a pretty good job on the outside kick, gave him a chance, and Dave Thorne was happy about that. Those are hard to execute. You don't really see them too often in college football, but they almost got there.
Yeah, no, and they fought back. Like, they didn't give up. Like, we both saw the 2 scoring drives, and in the later parts of the game, the Noah Rogers touchdown, and then the Hollywood Smothers explosive catch and run. I thought it's his. He was back in action, and I thought he looked great. He had a nice day, especially in the passing game. He was the team's 2nd leading receiver with 3 catches for 87 yards, and of course 72 of that came on one play. But yeah, so the young players are looking good, man. There's promise on this team, and I think that's actually a good segue for us to dive into some game balls, if that works for you. Let's talk about some players of the game. If this is your first time listening to the Wolfpacker Show, we like to recognize a few individual standouts from each game, regardless of the final result, and highlight some folks that did particularly well. Noah, give me your first game ball, man.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the guy I share a name with, Noah Rogers. He scored his first career touchdown in college football. 4 catches, 95 yards, and a touchdown on 6 targets. He also made 2 contested catches, led the team in that department against Syracuse. I think he's really coming into his own. I think as CJ Bailey grows more comfortable in the offense, we'll see more downfield passing. He set a career high on downfield passing attempts and completions with 4 attempts, 3 completions of more than 20 yards through the air. And I think Noah Rogers will be a beneficiary of that as Bailey continues to grow. Plus, he's only a redshirt freshman, Ethan. He didn't play much. His former quarterback was on the other side of the field last night. But,
Yeah.
I think as much as we talk about CJ growing week to week, Noah Rogers is growing week to week. And he's starting to, I think, get really comfortable. He's confident in this offense. And he's confident in CJ Bailey, which I think you really want to see from two young playmakers.
I mean, talk about a youth movement on offense. And I think we knew that was a possibility this year. We had high expectation for some of the young guys, but I think it's becoming abundantly clear that these freshmen, redshirt freshmen, sophomores are, the best players on this offense. I mean, look at it. Your quarterback is a true freshman who looks really good. The level of quarterback play he is at right now is the best quarterback play the Pack has had in the past 2 years, right? You look at the leading rushers for this game: CJ, freshman; Kendrick Raphael, true sophomore; Hollywood, redshirt freshman. Leading receivers: Noah Rogers, redshirt freshman; Hollywood, redshirt freshman; KC, sophomore. There's a trend there. There are some really good young players on this team, and I totally agree, Noah. They are really starting to show, realize their potential. They were all highly ranked recruits, highly touted players who showed stuff in like the first year of college football with Kendrick and KC, of course. But then you have Noah, former 5-star. He's playing like a former 5-star at this point. He led the team in targets. I feel like that's the first time that has happened this season. They're trying to get him the ball more, and it's working. And he did really good on the a scramble drill on his long touchdown. Made a smart play, got to open space, and CJ found him. I'd say that's a play that you don't see many players with a combined 3 seasons of college experience making. So I think the freshmen as a whole, the underclassmen as a whole, deserve some credit. And I'll give out my game ball to Hollywood just because I thought he looked really explosive. I think there is a chance that by the end of the year, we are referring to him as NC State's best running back. He's just so explosive and a difference maker in the passing game like we saw. Noah, do you have another game ball that you would like to give out?
Yeah, I think, Justin Jolie is consistently being one of their, go-to targets. He only had 2 catches for 39 yards, 2 catch a touchdown gap. Anytime they throw him the ball. Targets. Yeah, I mean, he's open. I think that part of it's just Bailey not seeing him. It is what it is. It's hard to miss a guy of Justin Jolie's stature, but he's playing well. He's not getting frustrated when the ball's not coming his way, and he's ready when it does. 2 catches, 2 targets, 39 yards and a touchdown. His second straight week with the score. This is a guy that's playing really, really good. I think he, when you look at this offense, he's one of the stars. He's a leading receiver, coming into the game. He should still have that title leaving the game, I believe. And, he played well.
Yeah, I'm going to give my second game ball. I'm going to switch sides of the ball here, and I'm going to talk about DK Kaufman, who, when Syracuse was thriving on these quick passes, he was there to clean it up. He was keeping those 15-yard gains from turning into 30-yard gains, right? He recorded 11 total tackles, 6 solo stops, and a quarterback hurry. What I've really enjoyed this season is seeing the passion and the fire that he plays with on the field. He is almost always the most hyped up player on the defense, regardless of the score, the situation. He is fired up, flying to the ball and making plays. And I thought he did a really good job. The Pack's leading tackler against Syracuse. So shout out to DK. He has really fit in well in Raleigh, without a doubt. All right. Well, Noah, that's all I have to say about the Syracuse loss. Looking forward, like we've mentioned, NC State. It's time for a classic ACC matchup next week. The Pack goes to the West Coast to play Cal. The Golden Bears created some excitement early in the season. They hosted College Game Day earlier this year, but they almost beat Miami, gave Florida State a game, and now they're 0-3 in the conference. Same spot as NC State. NC State's 3-4, man. Where do you see the Pack going from here?
I don't know. I think this can go one of 2 ways. They can let this infiltrate the locker room, which they talked a lot about after the game yesterday, sticking together as a team. I don't think that'll be a problem. I think the culture that NC State has will be able to avoid most of that. Did a year ago, different boat this time. We had 3-4, first time under 500 in 5 years. So it's hard to tell. I think it really will see what they're made of this week at Cal on the road. 8.5-point underdogs. See what they can do. They got nothing to lose at this point. And then they'll finally hit a bye, and then we'll see what kind of team this is the last 4 weeks or their last 4 games. So they've got a bye, and then 2 games and a bye, and then 2 games. So we'll see what happens.
You said they're 8.5-point underdogs opening.
They open at 8.5-point dogs on the road.
Wow.
To another 0-3 ACC team.
Yeah, that's kind of wild, but there you go. It's going to be an interesting road trip for NC State. They fly down I think Thursday. I think they're leaving Thursday, right? For Cal.
Yeah, they'll be on Thursday, and I believe the equipment truck is headed there today. Which shout out to the NC State equipment managers. They had to stay up all night after 8 p.m. kick. The game didn't even end until like 11:30. They had to stay up all night, get the truck loaded because I believe it left today, maybe early tomorrow morning. But I know they pulled an all-nighter, getting everything ready to go.
Man, well, shout out to them. Safe travels to everyone involved in that trip. And thank you all for watching and listening to the Wolfpacker Show today. We appreciate it. And we'll see you midweek to dive deeper into the Cal matchup and preview and make our predictions for that game. Thanks, folks, and have a good rest of your weekend.